Oh, hi. You know, according to the two greatest philosophers of the last 100 years, when you're negotiating to buy an apartment building, you really have to decide which one of two very distinct strategies you're going to employ. The philosophers Jagger and Richards, in their 1968 treatise called Let It Bleed, identified the get what you want strategy, but they also identified an alternate strategy called the get what you need strategy.
You can't always get what you want, but if you try sometimes, well, you might find you get what you need.
Okay, so let's start with the get what you want strategy. As you can see from this chart, over the past 15 years, investors have paid about 95% of the listing price when they bought an apartment building. Now, that percentage actually is a little bit higher when we have a strong economy, and it's a little bit lower when we're in a recession. And that all makes perfect sense. When the economy is strong, more investors are inclined to want to buy apartment properties, and so that competition helps to push prices higher. Okay, that's all well and good, but actually, how do get what you want negotiations really work? Well, to answer that question, I've invited Mike to join us to do a little bit of role playing. Hi, Mike. Hi, Mike. Say hi to them. Oh, hi. Okay, let's get started with the role playing. I'm going to be the seller, and Mike is going to be the buyer. I'm going to put my property on the market for sale at $1 million. So I'm going to offer the seller here, let's say, $900,000, and I'm hoping the scenario plays out like this. The offer will come back, drop his price from $1 million to $980. I'll go up from $900 to $920. He'll come down to $970. We go back and forth a few times, and ultimately we'll come to agreement at $950,000. That's at least sort of my fantasy of how the negotiation could go. And if you look at the long-term historical trend in the Puget Sound region, that's about right. I'll get about a 5% discount, which it seems buyers have been getting historically in this market area over the last 15 years or so. Okay, now let's look at the get what you need strategy. In the real world, buyers just can't go out and buy whatever they want whenever they want it. First, there are some budgetary limitations. They just have a limited amount of cash to invest in apartment property. Second, there is a limit to how many properties are on the market at any one time. It's not like trying to buy shares of Microsoft stock. You could go buy that anytime you want. But there really aren't a lot of apartment buildings for sale at any one moment in time. And buyers are limited by other factors too. They may have some other requirements. They may want to buy properties close to where they live or where they work, or buy properties close to where they already own some other real estate, so they have some synergy in a market area. Let's say that a buyer lives in South King County and wants to buy properties in South King County and can afford to buy a property for, in the range of $1.5 million to $2 million. Well, last year there were only 6 sales of apartments that met those 2 requirements. And if that's not bad enough, there were only 5 sales in Pierce County that met those requirements, only 1 sale in Snohomish County, and if you're on the east side, forget about it. There weren't any sales last year that met those requirements on the east side. And that's in all of 2014, which was an all-time record-breaking sales volume year in the Puget Sound region. So, get what you need negotiations looks like this. Okay, this one's simple. You're putting your property on the market for $1 million? How about I pay you $1,050,000? Do we have a deal? Sound crazy? Well, that happens a lot more than you might think. Last year, 1/3 of all the apartment sales in the Tri-County market, King, Pierce, and Snohomish counties, sold at or above the listing price. As a buyer, I can't afford to pay too much for a property, But I have very specific requirements: the size of property I can afford and want to own and operate, and the location I want to own it in, and probably some other requirements too. But here's something interesting. About half the buyers on the east side last year paid the listing price or more, and the same is true in Seattle. This is at or near all-time record highs. But the economy's good all throughout the Puget Sound region. So why is it that only 20% of the buyers in South King County last year paid the listing price or more? Or just 15% in Pierce County? Or just 5% in Snohomish County? Okay, these are big differences, and they don't mesh with the long-term averages for the region by market area. If you look at this chart, you can see that. But there is a lot less buying pressure than normal in all of the other market areas around the Puget Sound region. So you might want to investigate those markets. You can see all of these charts, much bigger versions of them if you want to study them a bit. They're on our website in the articles section. The article is called Negotiating, Think, Let It Bleed. I hope that you enjoyed today's video, and you'll come back next week for another weekly apartment update.